Good evening, and welcome to tonight's edition of MNN, Miami News Network. I'm your host. Hope we get an A. Tonight's hot topic is retention, and with the testing season right around the corner, this is something that is on teachers, parents, and students' minds alike. Will I pass the test? Specifically talking about third grade reading guarantee. Will I be able to move on? What is the place of retention in today's educational system? In the U.S., retention is widely used as an effective, or what some say is an effective, and others say it's an outdated practice that we need to do away with. This evening, we will be joined shortly by two people weighing in on this topic. We have Professor They're Not Ready and Dr. Movamon. Good evening, ladies. Welcome to tonight's edition of MNN, where we're discussing this hot topic of retention. So we're going to start off with you, Professor They're Not Ready. Please give us your views on retention.
Thanks so much for having me on today. I'm Professor They're Not Ready from Miami University. And bottom line with this whole grade retention issue is the research shows that retention may truly be the best option for those students who just are not ready yet. We've all heard of the third grade reading guarantee, where a student might be retained to receive some intensive interventions if they're not able to pass the third grade state test. Now, here's the thing. Lawmakers would not have approved this if grade retention wasn't truly a benefit to these students. I also want to share that in some research that was done where teachers and principals who had retained students in the past were interviewed, and nearly 70% of these individuals saw that retention did benefit the student, and 70% would use grade retention again as an intervention in the future. Aside from the academic piece of this all, students are also retained frequently when they just don't have the social maturity to progress to the next grade. And this really has been shown in research to benefit the retained student socially. In fact, there was a study of about 350 primary students, and the students who were retained were rated higher by their teachers on scales of peer acceptance than their peers who were promoted to the next grade level.
Thank you, Professor, for your input. Now, Doctor, what do you feel? How do you feel about retention and what Professor They're Not Ready has said?
Personally, have to say that I disagree with these findings. Although students in the primary grades who are retained sometimes show academic gains right away, these gains are not maintained over time, and when students get to the older grades, they actually are falling further behind, specifically in the area of reading, which is one of the most negatively affected areas of students who are retained. I'll cut straight to the point when I say that it is a major issue that students are still being retained throughout so many schools in the United States. Not only does much of the research agree that retention has negative effects, it's actually one of the most powerful indicators of dropping out of high school. Some studies have even found that retaining a student more than once essentially ensures dropout. That's unacceptable in a time where our goal is to increase graduation rates and post-secondary education opportunities for our students. Retention's expensive for schools, and it's not a motivating factor for students. They cannot increase achievement simply because of the threat of being held back. Retention is an outdated practice that discriminates against students of color and students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Some studies have found that Black and Hispanic students are up to 2 times more likely to be retained than white students. That's just an appalling fact. Studies have also shown that schools with the highest retention numbers are in urban communities with many students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. It's far time that we stop disadvantaging these students. There is simply no need to retain when there are so many interventions that can be put in place to prevent it, and there's so many alternatives.
Thank you, ladies, for your insightful inputs about retention. And so, for our hot topic, as we conclude, there's some other things as we are going on about retention that could possibly help with this situation. So, what are the alternatives? Researching this topic, some of them that we found was provide remedial help early on. The key is early intervention. I think if we're going to say that retention is an outdated practice. Peer tutoring, kids seem to learn more from their peers than they do at times from the adults in their lives. Encourage students to take ownership of their learning. This is yours. You get what you put into it. And also provide students with evidence-based instructions. We know that this helps our students to learn. And summer school. I know when I was young, we had summer school. If you didn't think that you were going to be able to pass the school, we need to bring those kind of extended learning opportunities back. And really start with a good preschool program. Get our kids ready for learning early so that they're prepared once they enter kindergarten. And in conclusion for tonight's edition of Hot Topic with MNN News, what we see that the key to helping this problem with retention, whether you're for it or against it, the best key is to intervene early, provide interventions with students that you know are struggling and will have or are having issues in the classroom. And if it's behavior-based, implement some of those PBIS strategies to kind of get away from the negative behaviors and incorporate more positive behaviors so that they are not taken from their learning environment. And this concludes our hot topic of retention on MNN News. I'm your host, Hope. Get an A. Thank you and good night.